Wake Tech East, this campus, which is entirely heated and cooled by 297 geothermal wells, solar photovoltaic on all of our buildings, which reduce our electrical costs by 15%. And it's not just our sustainability features in our facilities. Wake Tech is a leader in programs to embed energy efficiency skills into all of our technical programs. That started back as a system going back almost 15 years ago with an initiative we had called Code Green across the state that was led by Wake Tech. And Secretary Yellen and Governor Cooper were able to see how that's transpired today in the many programs that we have at Wake Tech. So we're honored and excited for everyone to be here today, and particularly thank you, U.S. Secretary Treasurer Yellen, for being with us today and for bringing us all together here at Wake Tech. Thank you.
Please welcome to the stage Congressman Wiley Nickel.
All right, good morning. It is great to be with everyone here today at Wake Tech. I'm Congressman Wiley Nickel, proud to represent North Carolina's 13th District, and it's an honor to welcome you all to our great state today. I serve on the House Financial Services Committee, where we get to hear from Secretary Yellen a few times a year. Secretary Yellen, thank you so much for coming here today. Our 78th Secretary of the Treasury, a former Fed chair, always an economist, really someone who has been a real leader in the Biden-Harris administration. Also known for finding the best local hole-in-the-wall spots for food. So I've got some great Eastern North Carolina barbecue for you if you're looking. You are in Eastern North Carolina, so you definitely want Eastern North Carolina barbecue. But on the House Financial Services Committee, it's one of the committees that is, I'd say, a little less of a food fight committee in terms of the work we do. We cover, housing, banking, Wall Street, but Secretary Yellen does come, and it's always, a newsworthy event. And for me, it's always interesting watching these cabinet secretaries come before our committee because they get just some crazy questions from my Republican colleagues. So you never know what they're going to say. But I can say that when I had my last 5 minutes, I have just 5 minutes, and we got through FSOC, custodial banking for digital assets, Russian oil sanctions, and civil nuclear exports. So that was the last time I got to see you. But we're here today to celebrate the success of the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, which has already given millions of working families more breathing room in their budget every month. Once again, the Biden-Harris administration is delivering for North Carolina. Here in North Carolina, far too many of my constituents are facing an uphill battle when it comes to their finances. Yes, our region is growing quickly, but for the folks who've lived here for decades and those who've chosen North Carolina as their home to retire, that growth means an increasing cost of living, especially when inflation hits hard for those on fixed incomes. That's why the Inflation Reduction Act is so important. Our community is truly starting to feel the impact of this important once-in-a-generation legislation. The IRA investments are lowering costs, reducing our energy bills, and making everyday necessities more affordable. Over $3.5 billion has already been awarded to North Carolina through the IRA and the bipartisan infrastructure law enacted in 2021. So far, we have secured $1.4 billion for road, rail, and transit improvements, $800 million for electrification, $500 million for renewable energy and pollution reduction, and $100 million for workforce development, something we got to see on display here today. And that's just the beginning. With many grants still to be awarded, the benefits will only grow from here for North Carolina. I want to take a special moment again to thank Secretary Yellen for her partnership and willing to collaborate on key issues impacting North Carolinians. One of the things, too, that I think is important to point out, the Congress gives the cabinet secretaries a ton of power and discretion over the legislation that we enact. And we've worked very hard with Governor Cooper and Treasury on implementing the IRA. Tons of meetings with Podesta on the energy adder portion of that, and I want to thank Treasury for issuing additional guidance on the energy communities provision of the IRA, which provides a bonus on the investment tax credit for renewable energy projects in areas impacted by unemployment from the closure of fossil fuel sites. This is an area where we spent months with Treasury to get it right, and it is because of the guidance that your agency offered, we are providing more green jobs for North Carolina. Again, Secretary Yellen, today, 90,000 families in North Carolina have claimed over $100 million in residential clean energy credits and over $60 million in energy efficiency credits. That is a big deal for North Carolina. These tax credits cover 30% of the cost of community clean energy projects, with additional bonuses of 20% for affordable housing properties and 10% for our lowest income communities. From installing solar panels and battery storage systems to purchasing electric vehicles and chargers, reducing energy leakage through home improvements and upgrading heating and cooling systems, North Carolinians are benefiting from lower costs while investing in clean energy and protecting our environment. I'm especially grateful to Secretary Yellen and her team for the adjustments made to ensure that North Carolina wasn't left behind with these vital tax incentives. These credits will create jobs for working families across our state and help protect the planet for future generations. This is a huge win for North Carolina and for communities across the country, yet another example of the Biden-Harris administration delivering for North Carolina working families. I'm grateful for your partnership and to be able to celebrate this special occasion with you today. Thank you again, Secretary Yellen. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Congresswoman Deborah Ross.
Please welcome to the stage Congresswoman Deborah Ross.
Well, thank you, Congressman Nickel. We have been great partners for Wake County, and it is always a good day to be with Wake Tech. I just love, I've been to all of your campuses. This brand new campus is a game changer for Eastern Wake County. I also want to recognize that Mayor York from Zebulon is here, and I've been hearing about this campus for, let's just say, years, and to be here and to see how amazing it is under the leadership of Dr. Rawls is just really warms my heart. So welcome, Secretary Yellen. You get to see this brand spanking new campus. It's an honor to welcome you to Wake County. The last time I was with you in North Carolina, we were in Orange County with Congressman Price. And we are just celebrating the incredible success of the historic Inflation Reduction Act. When Congress passed this legislation, we voted to make transformational investments in our nation's future, and we are seeing that on the ground. I worked hard on this bill because I recognize the urgency of both combating the climate crisis and reducing the high cost of living for hardworking people. We know that climate change is real, and I'm so glad that Wake Tech has a sustainable campus that recognizes that. We also know that its effects are real. From scorching heat waves, which we even had last week, to destructive hurricanes, North Carolinians understand the disastrous consequences of rising global temperatures for our state and our country. And that's why the Inflation Reduction Act is so important. Clean energy technology is a powerful tool for combating this crisis while also creating good-paying jobs. I know this because of North Carolina's leadership in this area almost 2 decades ago, and of course Governor Cooper knows about this too. First state in the Southeast to have a renewable energy portfolio standard, creating jobs during the last recession. I worked on this as a state legislator and as an attorney. So through the IRA, we have an opportunity to do even more, to harness solar, electric, and offshore wind energy to power homes, reduce costs, and pave the way for a sustainable future. Last year alone, 3.4 million Americans benefited from $8.4 billion in clean energy tax credits, which lowered the cost of energy and energy efficiency upgrades in homes across the country. I particularly like energy efficiency because it saves money and means we don't have to depend on more fossil fuels. In addition, thanks to funding from the Inflation Reduction Act, the Biden-Harris administration's Solar for All initiative is investing millions in federal dollars to lower energy costs for low-income families and disadvantaged communities, which frequently do not get to benefit from clean energy programs. These critical initiatives ensure that no one is left behind in the transition to renewable energy. These are momentous steps forward, but to fulfill the promise of this once-in-a-lifetime legislation, we need to train our workers for the clean energy jobs of tomorrow. That's where Wake Tech comes in. We need to equip our young people with skills to help build the clean energy economy of the future. And thankfully, Wake Tech has been at the forefront of this transition. The exceptionally talented students and faculty at this institution are playing an integral role in growing North Carolina's clean energy sector and helping our state to become a global leader in advanced manufacturing. Wake Tech is leading the way with electric vehicle technician training that will help our workforce meet the growing demand for electric vehicle infrastructure. I was proud to secure federal funding for this innovative program at Wake Tech North, and I will continue to partner with you going forward. The skills being taught here at Wake Tech will power our economy for generations to come. And I am confident that today will only be the first of many celebrations North Carolinians continue to lead the nation in clean energy technology with help from this important Inflation Reduction Act. Thank you again to my fellow Brown University alum, Secretary Yellen, for visiting Wake County today, and I know the voice of God will tell you that our amazing governor will take the stage next.
Please welcome to the stage Governor Roy Cooper.
He didn't say amazing. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. We have great leaders in Congress in Wiley Nickel and Deborah Ross. Thank you for your leadership. Grateful to have from my staff, Caroline Sullivan, who heads up our North Carolina Business Committee for Education, and Lee Lilly, who is heading up our Pandemic Recovery and Economic Development. Grateful for local elected officials, members of the Wake Tech Board, President Rawls. We are so excited to have the best community college system in the country. I'll stack it up against anybody. And we have the president of that system with us here today, Jeff Cox, as well. North Carolina is leading the nation in innovative workforce solutions. All you have to do is talk to some of the students on this campus. They will tell you about the life-changing courses that they are getting and certificates that they are earning to be able to make a living for themselves and their families. A number of them are changing careers and using this institution, and I'm grateful for that. And I also want to thank the faculty here at Wake Tech and really all of our community colleges across North Carolina. Most of them could be doing something in the private sector for more money, yet they make the sacrifice to be teachers and making sure that they transfer their knowledge to people so that they can learn. We've got employees of Wake Tech and faculty, all you guys, please stand up and let's give them a big hand. Our community colleges really are at the forefront of creating a great workforce here, and it is the main reason why for the last 5 years North Carolina has ranked in the top 3 states in the country for business. 2 of those years we were #1. We would have been #1 this year if they hadn't changed the criteria and moved the workforce down a notch and put infrastructure above workforce. They just didn't want us to win it 3 years in a row, let me just tell you that. You know, North Carolina has become the epicenter for clean energy, several reasons. Number one, we have targeted this industry. We want clean energy to come to North Carolina. The reason I have on a green tie is A, the fight against climate change, but B, money. The reason we've been able to form a bipartisan coalition of people to go after clean energy jobs is even some people who don't believe in the fight against climate change know that this is where the private sector is going. This is where the jobs are coming. Let's have North Carolina at the forefront of this. And we are so grateful for the Biden-Harris administration and the generational investments that have been made to allow us to recruit these companies and to help us get here. And our special guest today, I'm going to talk about her in just 1 minute as I introduced her, about how that has made such a fundamental difference. I think you've seen the workforce solutions on full display today. Wake Tech launched the country's first EV charging technician class through partnership with my office, and I'm grateful for that. We got the Siemens Foundation to also help to contribute to that, first in the country. We're excited about that. When we have a clean energy workforce, they will come. And you just saw, just in the last few months, 1,000 jobs in rural Edgecombe County producing sodium-ion batteries, 500 jobs in rural Brunswick County making battery components, 550 jobs with Siemens to improve the electric grid. And of course, we have Toyota's largest battery manufacturing plant in the world here in North Carolina. And those kinds of companies, Siemens, Toyota, Honda, Aircraft, they could go anywhere in the world that they want, but they have chosen North Carolina. It's because of the kind of people that we have and the kind of workforce that we bring. So I'm really delighted today to introduce to you the Secretary of the Treasury. Number one, I see this juice box back here. We got in a juiced up Mustang, EV Mustang, and she can drive it. She can drive it. Both of us were unfamiliar with the control panels. And serving as the co-pilot, at least I found the park button at the end of the day, so that we made sure we didn't run into the press corps, which I think played a critical role in our success today. So I want to thank you for that. But she obviously has been in academia. She has been an economist. She's also been the kind of person who understands government and the need for flexibility. And I think both our members of Congress mentioned this, but I'll just give you one example of how she has helped us. We've wanted in North Carolina for decades. We know how important it is. When the internet started, we understood, and the pandemic made it more apparent than ever, that we have to have high-speed internet all over our state for educational purposes, for medicine, for job opportunities, for small businesses. We had to do it. So we started an innovative grant program that was a public-private partnership that we were putting tens of millions of state dollars toward it. When the Biden-Harris administration came in and invested in the American Rescue Plan and bipartisan infrastructure, our system didn't quite fit the rules. And we were either going to be able to continue to use our system and get this money out there because we moved from tens of millions to billions so that we can actually hook up every house and business in North Carolina to high-speed internet, which is an amazing thing, or we would have to start all over again. Secretary Yellen helped us with the rules to make sure that we could use the same program that we had been using, which makes a real difference in getting high-speed internet to people faster. She is the first person in history to lead the White House Council on Economic Advisors, the Federal Reserve, and the Treasury Department. I'll introduce to you our Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen.
Thank you so much for your kind words, Governor Cooper, and it's been a real pleasure to collaborate with you and to try to get the best possible results for North Carolina. I'm so glad to be here today at Wake Tech with Governor Cooper Congressman Ross and Congresswoman Ross and Congressman Nickel. North Carolina community colleges led the way. That's more than a decade ago, when they overhauled their curricula to equip students pursuing technical education with skills in clean energy technologies. And more recently, Wake Tech has continued to lead by using federal funds to launch new training for jobs in the electric vehicle industry and in advanced building technologies. And Wake Tech is also moving forward to take advantage of one of the Inflation Reduction Act's most significant reforms. It's called direct pay, and it allows tax-exempt entities like colleges and universities to benefit directly from the IRA's clean energy tax credits. Wake Tech has informed us that it plans to claim credits for its major construction projects, including EV charging stations and the Central Energy Plant, which is so impressive, we just toured it, which is a claim for its use of thermal and solar energy to heat, cool, and power the campus. Well, what's happening here is part of a broader transformation we're seeing across the United States, thanks to the Biden-Harris administration's economic agenda and Congress's support for the IRA. I'd like to focus today on the progress we're making through the Inflation Reduction Act to bring down costs for American families and to invest in clean energy industries that will drive our country's growth. But first, let me just step back and talk about the state of the U.S. economy. Over the past 3.5 years, our administration has driven an historic economic recovery, and today the U.S. economy is strong. The second estimate of second quarter GDP came in last week. It was 3%. Very substantial number. We've had enjoyed growth of just over 3% over the last year. And unemployment remains near historic lows. Inflation has also significantly declined. That said, our administration knows that prices for key household expenses, things like healthcare, housing, energy, they're still too high. And bringing down the costs of these essentials is our administration's top economic priority. We've taken bold action. When global oil prices spiked following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we released 180 million barrels from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and we worked with our partners in the G7 and other countries to put in place a novel price cap on Russian oil. We've had record domestic production of oil and natural gas, even as we ramp up clean energy production. And the result is that we've kept global energy markets well supplied and addressed our immediate needs while keeping prices at the pump low for American families. Gas prices are down from $5 a gallon in June of 2022 to around $3.30 today. But we can't act only in response to crisis, and that's where the Inflation Reduction Act, among other actions, comes in. The IRA was designed to help families shrink and stabilize their energy bills right away, and to serve them in the years to come. Let me start with the IRA's residential clean energy and home efficiency tax credits. These enable American families to make much-needed investments at much lower costs. Last month, the Internal Revenue Service published new data showing that 3.4 million American families have claimed $8.4 billion in residential clean energy and home energy efficiency tax credits that's just so far for the tax year 2023. Credits for residential clean energy went towards solutions like solar panels and battery storage. Families claiming these credits have claimed an average of $5,000. And credits for energy efficiency went toward improvements like heat pumps, efficient air conditioning, and insulation, with families claiming $880 on average for those credits. And these credits are being claimed by taxpayers across all 50 states. Here in North Carolina, the data we have so far shows that about 90,000 families took advantage of them, and these households claimed over $100 million in residential clean energy credits and over $60 million in energy efficiency credits. And these are just preliminary numbers for 2023 that we expect to increase as more data comes in. And this is just 1 year of claims. Well, it's easy to see how these credits make a difference. They first make home improvements more affordable for millions of families across the country. Households that have made improvements can then see increased savings and reduced price volatility in their monthly energy bills. While the exact level of savings vary, one national study found households that adopted solar for their homes had median savings of $700 in 2021. And once the cost of the panels is paid off, the savings from adopting solar can increase to as much as $2,000 a year. Families here and across the country are benefiting from other IRA credits as well, such as the $7,500 off the purchase of a qualifying electric vehicle. And so far, just this year, consumers have saved $1.5 billion in upfront costs across purchases of more than 250,000 clean vehicles. And this is going to allow Americans across the country to reduce their spending on gas. And from residential clean energy and home energy efficiency credits to credits to purchase EVs, our work doesn't stop at just making these credits available. We're also doing everything possible to make sure that it is really easy to access these credits. This includes our efforts to transform the Internal Revenue Service into a modern tax agency that provides taxpayers the support they deserve to get the credits for which they're eligible. It's, of course, not just near-term savings we're focused on. Across the country, IRA incentives are also fueling massive private sector investments in manufacturing and clean energy. We're scaling up our domestic manufacturing capacity to reverse a decades-long decline in manufacturing. But now our focus is on clean energy industries of the future. Last fall, I visited Bessemer, North Carolina with Governor Cooper to visit Livent, which built the first new lithium hydroxide production facility in North America in more than a decade. And this investment expanded U.S. manufacturing capacity for what is a key input for electric vehicle batteries by 50%. Livent cites the IRA as a key driver of its investments, as do many companies I've heard from across the country. And as production of clean energy increases, costs will drop over time, making it even more affordable for American consumers. And of course, these investments are also creating jobs for people and places that historically haven't benefited from enough investment. Treasury analysis shows that here in North Carolina, 97% of clean energy investments that have been announced since the IRA was passed have been in counties with college graduation rates below the statewide average. And 93% have been in counties with median household incomes below the statewide average. And key IRA provisions help make sure these jobs are good ones and that there are pathways to them through expanded training and apprenticeship programs. Well, let me end by emphasizing that there are some out there who want to eliminate the credits I've talked about today. But I think, as you can see clearly here in North Carolina, that would be an historic mistake. Rolling them back would raise costs for working families at a moment when it's imperative that we continue to take action to lower prices. It could jeopardize the significant investments we're seeing in manufacturing here and across the country, along with all the jobs that come with them, many of which don't require a college degree. And it could give a leg up to China and other countries that are investing to compete in these critical industries. So what all this means is we have more work to do, from defending the IRA's credits to getting the word out so that as many Americans benefit from them as possible. But we are already changing the lives of American families now and for the future. And I am very optimistic that our efforts will continue to pay off. Thank you so much for showing me this impressive work you're doing here, and thanks for hosting me.